Just because you own the label doesn't mean you own the music. Most new artists start their personal labels and they leave their masters hanging out to dry. They're under-monetized and they're under-leveraged, and then finally they're also under-protected, right? But today, we're gonna fix that. I know the pride that comes with starting your own label, filing the LLC and dropping those first records, feeling like you're finally in control, but it's not about the paperwork, it's about the power behind that paperwork. And if your music isn't properly secured, then your label isn't protecting you. It's just decorating your downfall. So this is for the artists who took the leap and set up the label, but still aren't seeing the money, the leverage, or the protection that they expected. My goal is to help you realize that owning a label isn't the finish line, right? It's the foundation. And if you don't acquire, secure, and leverage your rights, then all you did was build a brand around a underutilized LLC. You see, when I started my first music production company, I didn't secure a thing. I was focused on chasing money, not building a real catalog at all. I didn't care about that. That didn't hit me until I started getting sync placements. And that's when I realized how vulnerable I was, missing deals and losing leverage, not even knowing it, because I had no real proof of ownership. And this stuff does matter. I know you think it doesn't, but sync forced me to get serious. I finally understood what it meant to treat my music like assets. You know what I'm saying? That meant protecting it, like attaching it to my company the right way, and then setting it up to generate money, not just streams. It's all a setup process. You know what I'm saying? So let's dig into this. Number one is we gotta acquire the rights. We gotta do this the right way now, all right? Because most of you guys think that once you pay a producer for the session or a session musician for their work, that you own the rights to what was done, all the track performances and all of that stuff. But this is one of the biggest traps in the music industry. The truth is you have to acquire the rights through a transfer on paper. If you're leasing beats, this doesn't really apply to you. This doesn't apply to that scenario. But I learned about this through registering my sound recordings for copyright. And I would always run across the question when registering, and it said, if any claimant is not an author, you must include a transfer statement showing how the claimant actually obtained the copyright. And so I was like, it hit me. Who would not be an author? A record company. How would they get the rights? A contract. Now to you, this might seem simple, but to me, this was revolutionary. So here's what you gotta do. You gotta obtain the work for hire agreements with all the session musicians under your LLC. Then you gotta obtain producer contracts with all the producers who made the tracks with you underneath the LLC. Put it all under the LLC. And then you gotta obtain split sheets or contracts, if you have them, with all of the applicable songwriters that work with you under the LLC. Once you do this, you can successfully transfer all your rights into your record company via the copyright registration. And this is how you obtain your masters. It's how you get them, okay? Now, if you're still thinking that, well, you can do the poor man's copyright or use companies like Dakar to actually cheaply secure your rights, just remember, the postmaster is not the organization who established the rights in the first place, and neither is Dakar. Your government is. So that should give you a clue as to where you need to be. Now you have to secure the rights. We obtained them, but now we gotta secure them. Because if you think that you've secured the rights by just having signed a contract, then you're only halfway there. In a court of law, without government protection and their up to $150,000 insurance policy, you will have to prove your case flawlessly for actual losses versus a statutory minimum when the case isn't necessarily fully clear. I know this to be true because it simply isn't registered, and this is US code as well, okay? So here's what you need to do. Register the sound recordings for copyright under the LLC, and then register the musical works for copyright under the LLC for the portion that the LLC owns, okay? Also register your artwork under the LLC, so the company owns everything. Now, once you do this, your rights are fully secured under the company, separate from yourself. If someone willfully or innocently infringes on your works, damages will be awarded to the company, your LLC. And if you infringe willfully or innocently on someone else's work, so long as those works are registered under your LLC, your company will be held liable for the damages, not you personally. That's the power of the LLC. Now you see why I talk so much about LLCs. So far, we've covered acquiring and securing, but this next part is where most artists say, screw it all, man, forget it, right? So stay with me. And side note, if you want to know how to do all of this the right way, step by step with guided help, grab my 60-day record label system, complete with my funding partners to build your personal record label and secure those rights. Now, you can't say screw it to cataloging and leveraging the rights. You just did all of this work, so you might as well finish the final step, because a lot of you guys or new labels in general will not catalog the registrations that you've just done. Copyright numbers, splits, and contracts will be lost and spread out everywhere. And this causes your sync endeavors to go awry, and then your publishing never gets done correctly. Now, on top of that, you probably don't even have all of the versions to your final mixes that you need besides the main mix. But in order to keep all of that data in one place, you've got to do some cleanup work so you can leverage your ownership properly, especially for investment or sales later. All right. Now, I use 3 main pieces of software to do this when I had a sync company and a publishing company. All right. I use Infinite Catalog. That was number 1. Repertoire. That was number 2. They were all right. And disco.ac. Right. If you don't have the money, you can just use a spreadsheet and a hard drive and a cloud drive to keep those records. So here's what you need to do. I'm going to need you to obtain all mixes for your song. Every song. You see what I'm saying? Register all songs at your PRO, the MLC, HFA, MRI, and Sound Exchange. That's just going to cover the whole gamut right there. Catalog the songs personally, or whatever software you're using. Catalog those songs with the copyright control number, splits, mixes, and contracts. Keep all of this stuff on file, especially if you plan on, doing at least 1 million plus on your catalog. Once you do this, your record label will be ready for battle. And this is the maintenance that it takes to run a label on the administration side. If you're thinking that you can hire a manager to do this, yes, you can. Once you have the system set up, you sure can. But if you don't need the help, don't hire. You know what I mean? This could be an assistance job, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take much effort. You're just like, oh, no, I can't do this. It's got too much to create. I can't do it. Man, it's your company. Run it. You know what I mean? So I challenge you to get your first producer contract signed. At least do that. Then register the song or album for copyright. You can at least do those 2 things. And then start your own catalog system or use one of the softwares that I mentioned earlier, okay? But out of all 3 of those, you can start with disco.ac for cataloging at least and keep moving from there. The goal of this is to realize the power that you hold within the LLC and the rights that you've attained. That's the whole goal and premise of this video. I guarantee you, once you have it cataloged and organized, you will see the value, especially if the music is really good. You'll see the value that you have in front of you. Now, the real question is, should you do this or should you not do this? Is how much longer can you afford not to once you realize the value that you have sitting on your hard drive? You know what I mean? Just takes a little bit of investigation to understand. Now, if you need help devising a strategy around this or anything else, join our group strategy calls every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time inside the Music Money Makers community. Click below to join, and I'll see you inside. The truth is, all of this is necessary. If you don't want massive headaches later after you've fallen out with some people and lost contact, then do this. Right? You think you have a headache from information overload right now, but just wait until I can't remember's come up, or we never did that, or I need some money then comes up. I guarantee you it's coming. So you need all of this stuff done now. Just wait on it. You know what I mean? You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to start with what you got and then watch how far that's going to take you, especially when you have it all laid out. Everything that you've recorded, everything that you own. Look at how big the catalog is getting. This is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, if you don't acquire, secure, and catalog your rights properly, you're looking at 3 major costs right here. So let me break it down to you. You're going to have some lost revenue from sync deals. I had that experience. Publishing and other monetization opportunities that require clear ownership documentation. This is more heavyweight investment, right? And then you got the constant stress and anxiety of knowing your music empire is built on shaky legal ground, waiting for conflicts to arise. And then you're going to either invest time up front to do it right or spend 10 times that time fixing problems later. There's no middle ground with this, right? You're going to lose contact with people and you're going to fall out with people, but yet the music's going to keep making money and somebody's going to want to get paid. But if you're serious about protecting your music, it's time to take action, not just registering an LLC, but actually securing the rights through your proper legal channels. Remember, in this industry, what you don't protect today becomes someone else's opportunity tomorrow. And I know because I used to steal. You know what I'm saying? Music Money Makers. If you make music, you should always make money. Log on to musicmoneymakeover.com, grab the 60-day record label system or course beneath this video right now today, complete with my funding partners. Join the Music Money Makers community, grab the free stuff below, watch this next video coming up right here, and I'll see you next time. Peace.